And away we go. It's the DFS Early Bird presented by Osmo.com. Dan Strafford and Dave Lockwood along with you on this Friday morning, getting you ready for an 11-game National Basketball Association slate over there on the Daily Fantasy sites. Dave, how the hell are you doing?
Doing well, man. How are you?
I'm good. Long few weeks, but we plow on. The NBA full swing. NFL still going strong as well. I will say it's supposed to be 37 here on Friday, which I'm not looking forward to because it's still not winter yet. So that should not happen. But nonetheless, winter coats are out, hats are out. The kids will be bundled up and sent off to school. And we continue on from there. God, we haven't done a home improvement episode in a long time.
I just got all my floors done.
Did you? That's awesome.
Yeah.
We had somebody come out to give us an estimate on our roof, on our attic insulation, because we need to get that done, and to get an estimate on insulating the walls, the exterior walls, because when this house was built, there's no real insulation put in. So we'll get drafty during the winter. And the guy gave us an estimate, basically said, well, as long as there's nothing in the wall, we can do spray foam and you'll be fine. Of course, there's something in our wall. And I don't know if you remember when I was trying to hang that TV in my living room and I kept hitting something. Turns out all of my walls have granite in them of some sort.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so they can't do spray foam.
Well,
I thought it might be diamonds. Like my wife's grandparents may have just decided to go for it with their insulation. But that's going to be a fun one because they basically said I need to take off the exterior walls, take out whatever that is, and then fill in. That's not happening. So.
Nice. Enjoy it.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun one. But nonetheless, we are here for an 11-game NBA slate. We have DK as our jumping off point. We'll hit on FanDuel after shooting guard. We'll hit on Yahoo after power forward. And we will, of course, remind you that we have the NBA strategy show each and every morning, typically around 9:15 Eastern time. Then you have the deeper dive, Lofty and Adam. And then you have, of course, Live Before Lock with the parade of cast of characters who are on that show, including Spags and Josh, and I know Ed Fear is on that as well. So you get a mix there. And, of course, remember all of our NFL shows with Lofty and Spags and Alex and EMAC and on down the line. I'm pretty sure Friday morning you're going to get some more Jazzaraz in your life as Manny's not available Friday morning for the NFL show. So you get Ben Raza in your life a little bit more. I think he's on back-to-back shows. So plenty of free content over there on YouTube. Like, subscribe, share, hit that alarm bell so you get all of the necessary notifications. So, Dave, we have an 11-game slate. We have a top price on Giannis at 11.5. Drummond is over 10K. A few players now tipping over 10K with Davis, Towns, Embiid, Drummond, James, being that LeBron, and Giannis there at 11.5. 4 out of 6 of those players, all center eligible. So that will be something we discuss a little bit later on as we roll through. But if we take a look at point guard, I'm going to put LeBron to the side and save him for small forward. Yet Luke at 9.9. Kyrie gets Portland at 9,700. Dame Lillard at 9K. Trey Young with a shortening bench there for the Hawks with the suspensions and injuries at 8,900. Brogdon is at 8,300, holding steady around that price point. We go on from there. Top end of this position, Irving's been a usage monster. Lillard's on the other side of this one for the Portland Trailblazers. Either of these two guys on your radar, or do you feel like point guard's a place to maybe save some cash and make your way down to the position?
Yeah, with 11 games, I mean, you have a lot of high-end options here. So there's certainly plenty to choose from. Trey Young is coming off a terrible game. He'd been absolutely spectacular up until the other day. And, you wonder if he wasn't, back to full health. He did play 30 minutes in the prior game, but then quick turnover, second leg of a back-to-back the very next day. I do think against Sacramento, it's a solid spot, though. It's a Kings team that's just looked absolutely terrible. They're not playing at a fast pace, but defensively they've really struggled. They've got a bottom 5 defensive rating this season. They're coughing up a ton of points every day. Losing oh God, I'm tired, man. It has been a lot. I do too many shows right now. Losing Marvin Bagley doesn't help their front court defense either. So I think Trey Young falling below 9K is definitely interesting. But then you've got Damian Lillard here, which is why you're going to have a tough time making decisions here. The Brooklyn Nets playing at a top 3 pace. Defensively, they've been, bottom 10 this season. And you just have to expect to see a ton of scoring in this game. I don't think we have – let me see if we've got a line on this one. It's possible that we do, but I'm not sure. I'm assuming it's going to be up around 230, 226 or so. Do we have it? I'll go to Pinnacle here. Let's see if they got anything for tomorrow. So for this game, we've got here we go. No, because Portland's playing their second of a back-to-back. So
yeah, they have a 10:30. Yeah, we're recording right at 10:15 now, so everybody knows they have a 10:30 game. Yep.
So we don't have anything on that one, unfortunately. But there's no question this could going to be a high-scoring affair. So Lillard and Trey Young, both of them there are really interesting. The thing about Kyrie Irving, I really like him this season. I expect him to continue producing monster numbers. The assist rates have been particularly interesting because if Kyrie Irving is going to be dishing out, 8, 9, 10 assists per game, he's going to be one of the best fantasy contributors in the league. He'll be above 10K pretty quickly, especially when you're jacking up 20-plus shots every night and your usage is hovering or is well above 30%. But at this rate, I don't think I pay an extra $700 for Irving over a 9K Dame or an $8,900 Trey Young. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, especially when Luka Doncic isn't much more expensive. He's only $200 more expensive than Kyrie Irving. So Kyrie Irving kind of falls into that no man's land for me, where I've got like Dillard, Young, and Doncic that all stand out as pretty solid plays. You come down to the bottom, Raul Neto is probably going to start. I would expect he started the second half. Ben Simmons has been ruled out Friday. He's expected to be out for 3 straight games. And Neto really hasn't looked that bad. He's not a fantastic player by any stretch, but the guy I expect him to play around 32 minutes in this game. And if that's the case at this price, he is as much of a lock as it gets. Look, when you look at players like this, you don't have to love them. It doesn't really matter. You just have to understand that you got to know where your bread is buttered, right? And if you're going to get the spots here, then you just have to do it. He had 7 potential assists in 30 minutes. You're not going to get anything spectacular from him, but he's going to play 30-plus minutes, and he's going to handle the ball quite a bit. And Raul Neto is going to be your top value option at the point guard position, assuming he starts, and I'd be shocked if he didn't.
And you throw, we can talk Josh Richardson a little bit more over at shooting guard, but clearly a little bit more usage to go around there. 5,700, not the most expensive price point for somebody who does have a ton of upside if his shot is falling. Trying to make our way through any other cheap options here.
Isaiah Thomas stands out as a decent play. I don't know if he's a top option, but the minutes are the big problem. If Isaiah Thomas was getting enough run, I'd really like him, but I can't really project him for anything more than 24 minutes, which sucks. If he was getting 30 minutes, he'd be one of our top value options as well.
All right, let's continue on here and look at some shooting guard options. Obviously, MPE on DraftKings, as often say here, makes this for a lot of crossover, but you do have a lot of the same names. You do have Brad Beal at the top at 8,600. This is a guy who has seen a ton of usage with the injuries they have therein and has been very solid from an upside perspective. He's 8,600. D'Angelo Russell is point guard, shooting guard eligible. He should be back. He's probable as of right now. Again, talking about a usage guy, he should be pretty high up there for the Golden State Warriors at 8,400. You have Holiday, Brogdon, Mitchell, Jimmy Butler eligible here at 7,400. Then you get Wiggins. RJ Barrett has been playing a ton of minutes, and Buddy Hield is eligible here at 6,700. A position that flattens out pretty quickly when it comes to talent and price point here. Dave, what do you like at the top, and where do you see yourself going as of right now?
Yeah, I think Beal's in that gray area too. I think we're all big fans of Beal in that you're going to get some huge performances from him this year, but he's just kind of in a spot where I don't really feel like running the risk of getting that 35 fantasy point game. With Doncic, you very rarely get that. I know Young's coming off a bad game, but with him and Lillard, it's usually pretty uncommon. With Beal, the peripherals just aren't there for me to feel confident. As a matter of fact, I would probably look towards like even Malcolm Brogdon here. But he and Beal are similar in the sense that I don't know on an 11-game slate you need to get there. Shooting guard's a weird position. Like McCollum, I think he's on a second of a back-to-back, and he was viable yesterday because it was a 4-game slate. I'm not a big fan when it comes to McCollum. I don't like guys that really can finish with 0 rebounds and 2 assists in 40 minutes. But the minutes are huge for him, and he's going to be playing against a fast-paced Brooklyn team with a bad defense. It only makes sense to think that McCollum can give you pretty solid numbers here. His usage rate is 27.5%, which is very solid. The peripherals suck flat out, but I think there's enough there to at least feel good enough about him being out there. If he plays 36, 37 minutes in regulation of a close game, you're going to have to really, really struggle to not play well. And then if you're looking value, I mean, total toss up here. Troy Brown's minutes have been all over the map, 17, 22, 30, 17. He had a great game against Detroit on the 4th, and then a terrible game against Indiana. There's really no saying what we're going to get from him, but he's there if you need a cheap punt in tournaments. Really, though, there isn't a lot of quality value right now at shooting guard. Fultz faces a pace-up Memphis team. How many minutes is he going to get is really the big question here. Memphis playing at a top 5 pace on the season as well. Markelle Fultz, from a playing time standpoint, seems to be hovering around that 24, 25-minute range. I guess it's fine at that price, but it doesn't stand out as a premier play. The same thing for guys like Bogdan Bogdanovic and Aaron Holiday, just a pretty low usage guy if they're going to stick him in the starting lineup. I just don't really like the value here much at all. Rodney Hood against Brooklyn, again, another high-scoring game, but can you really rely on Hood? You can't. You're hoping that he, makes 4 of his 7 threes and hauls in a couple rebounds. And then the last one, it's been a pretty ugly season to get started, but Evan Fournier's price has come down considerably. He's had 3 really bad games in a row. He actually had an 0 for 7 shooting performance against the Thunder. Now you've got him in a much more appealing matchup against the Grizzlies, who, like I said, play at a fast pace and also have, one of the lower ranked defenses this season. Fournier could bounce back here, and he has a real opportunity to give you 30 minutes, 31 minutes. You don't usually get that at 4,400.
Any take or overall thought process when it comes to a guy like Alec Burks for Golden State? Clearly, the situation was very specific against Houston. Number of guys out. He had an opportunity. D'Angelo Russell comes back. Does that immediately take him out of play at the price point above 5K on DraftKings?
Yeah, I'm not paying 5,200 for Alec Burks. No way. I mean, that was the straight ceiling game from Burks. 10 of 18 shooting. I just don't see any way that's able to be replicated. I don't. I came against a Houston team that defensively has been downright garbage, playing at extremely fast pace. I mean, Minnesota, if there's one thing, they lead the league in pace this season, so that you have that working for you. And it's not like they're a stellar defense, but Alec Burks above 5K, I have a very tough time getting there. And he's not going to rebound. He's not going to grab another 8 boards either.
Yep, Minnesota, middle of the pack when it comes to defensive rating, 107.4. And as you said, pace is top of the league. But I agree with you. I just want to get your take there on Burks, as I think he'll be one of those names people double check on, do a little box score surfing, and try to project out a similar box score that we would see. And I just don't see it happening on this slate. Taking a quick look at FanDuel just to get some of these prices in front of you, Dave. And I know you don't play there often, but all above 10K. You have Lillard, Doncic, Embiid, Drummond, Anthony Davis, Karl-Anthony Towns, LeBron James. Giannis is your most expensive at 11.7. So you have ABC at 11.7, LeBron 11.6, Karl-Anthony Towns 11.5, and then we sort of break down from there. any quick takes on top end here of how maybe it's even more as we walk through which position you're most interested in? Again, it's center. You have Drummond, Embiid, and Karl-Anthony Towns all above 10K. Point guard, you have Lillard, Doncic, and that's it. And then small forward, LeBron and Giannis. This probably makes a little bit more sense to break down after everything, simply because of the position eligibility. But anyone stand out to you from a price point perspective on FanDuel in that top tier that you might be willing to build around on this slate?
I got to pull it up, and when I pull up FanDuel, we can hit on it at the end of the show,
Okay,
because
sounds
I
good.
can't remember all those names.
We will circle back to that momentarily. Maybe after center, we'll hit on FanDuel and Yahoo just to hit on some of the top end price points and see if anybody's mispriced from that perspective. And remember, projections behind the paywall. So if you want to become a member, it's early bird. That's one word, 50% off your first month, and also tons of free content, including the live shows that touch on FanDuel, Yahoo, and DraftKings specifically when it comes to ownership projections and projections, as it were, from the different analysts who appear on the shows. Small forward, you get Giannis and LeBron at the top. Brandon Ingram has a price tag of 8,100 and a matchup with Toronto. Came out and had a absolutely stellar game. There have been rumors about injuries, about different things going on. He has 40 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals. So not hitting the boards as much, but clearly the shot upside was there for him there. He sits at 81. Butler, Wiggins, Buddy Hield, and you do have Eric Pascal making his way to 6,500 in this upcoming matchup. Sorry, make that 6,600. He's been somebody that Josh and I talked about just simply from a overhype and overpriced perspective for the Golden State Warriors, though they do need someone to shoot the ball and someone to rebound the ball. And he had filled that void a bit over the past few games. How do you feel about small forward? Who are some of the names that stand out to you?
Yeah, Giannis is really expensive, and Utah's defense is really good. I probably don't get there on an 11 games. And look, the numbers that you get from Giannis are astounding. They're eye popping, right? Like, look at his rebound totals. He doesn't have a game with fewer than 10. He's got 16, 15, 15, 14, and 14 over his last 5. He's averaging 29 points, 14.3 rebounds, and 7.6 assists, 1.6 blocks, 1.3 steals. They're astronomical numbers that we're seeing from Giannis. But at this price point, if you want to play him in any matchup, I'm okay with it. But I don't think I'll be making him a priority here. Probably the same thing with LeBron. And the only reason for that is there are a lot of very reasonably priced players that are in that 9K range. I'll obviously do more research. Again, you get to LeBron, you get to Giannis. I'm not opposed to it whatsoever, but I don't know if it's a necessity here. That would be the thing. Jabari Parker, his prices come up, but I think you could probably make an argument that he's still viable here. They got blown out last game, but if he plays 32 minutes again, the usage is up. He should rebound well enough. You know, could you see a 40-plus game in the cards against Sacramento? Yeah, I definitely think you could. We talked about Fournier and Troy Brown. You know, maybe the big thing here is that you do pay for one of LeBron or Giannis because this position's really ugly. And sometimes that's the case. Sometimes it's just a product of the slate. And you look at some of the options and, you know, you've got a little bit of value, but these are guys we talked about at shooting guard that by no means are going to make you feel comfortable. You know, they are total dart throws at the position. Aaron Gordon, I think at 6K against Memphis is interesting. Not off to the greatest start this year, but that Memphis team is a whole lot different than they've been in the past. And, you know, playing at an elevated pace, that's where Gordon thrives. You know, athletic, can fly all over the place, he can create plays pretty much anywhere on the court, can score in transition, and that should make him a solid option against Memphis. So I like that. But no, this position, small forward, really doesn't offer that much. And I don't think LeBron is a great value. Giannis, I don't think is a phenomenal value, but he's so good that it might not even matter. Like, I don't know really how you can contain this guy, even with Rudy Gobert in the paint. So yeah, maybe you bite the bullet and go with Giannis here, because right now, from what we're seeing, without any injury news, and I don't want to speculate, this position's the worst on the slate.
Any position that has Markieff Morris in it cannot be the worst on any given slate. But
This is true.
Markieff at 4,400, coming off a big game. Hey, why the hell not? And genuinely, I think you're right, spot on, that we're going to be waiting on some injury news here, hoping to find some value opening up. Small forward at first glance does seem like one of the toughest to sled through, and then that makes decisions on exactly where you pay up and how you pay up that much more important. And we do a little bit of a survey each and every day of the analysts over at Osmo.com, giving you the idea of their top GPP play, their top cash game play, also where they see the biggest bust happening, and then, of course, which team to target, which team not to target. So that is all available to you. And one of the last questions in there is the position to pay up for and the position to save at. So that might be something to look at in regards to this slate. We move to power forward. Giannis is eligible here as well on DK 11.5. Then you have AD at 10.1. Kevin Love 9.3. Pascal Siakam at 8,800. Sabonis back and healthy enough at 87. Brandon Ingram, we've talked about already. AD at just 10.1. Is that a cheap enough price point for the upside he has to think of this as a pretty decent play for the oft-injured unibrow for the Los Angeles Lakers?
Yeah, I think it is. Last game was disappointing. I mean, highly underwhelming. I mean, after the first half, you're wondering if he knew he was playing basketball that day. There wasn't a single redeeming aspect of that game from Davis. It's one of the worst we've seen from him in a while. He played 31 minutes, but I don't know what it was. He wasn't there. He shot 6 for 15. He came on a little bit towards the end of that game, but it certainly wasn't going to salvage anything at that price point. LeBron James ended up having another big game. But yeah, I think Davis is solid value here. I mean, you're projecting him for 50 plus. You've got to be. Him and LeBron have usage rates around 33% each. The next closest is Kyle Kuzma, who's only been playing 20 minutes per game. He's 20% usage rate. Then it falls off to like Quinn Cook at 15%. So there's nobody within 13% of Davis and LeBron in terms of usage. And if you're not including Kuzma, who's only played a couple games, there's nobody within 18% usage. So if you wonder if they can coexist, the answer is yes, because no one else is doing shit.
What else do you have here at power forward? You have Love, Siakam, Sabonis at the top end. Anybody mid-tier or cheap that you want to throw onto the fire?
Porzingis facing his former team.
There it is.
Don't care about narratives at all. They don't mean a thing. Honest to God truth. If you want to make the argument that a ball handling player.
What's Kobe Bryant in his last game? Like, that's a narrative that matters.
Right, hold on. But that's, like I just said, a ball handling player.
Right.
Where you know that he's going to shoot 50 times.
Right.
That's different than like, okay, a power forward's facing his former team.
On his birthday.
What?
On his birthday.
Yeah, is it his birthday?
No.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, great. Doesn't mean, even if it did mean something, you don't know how to analyze it, right? Like, how are you going to analyze something like that out? Like, how do you boost his projection?
And does he make the shots he takes? Like, it's just, is he taking efficient shots? And I mean, it's all
right. But I'm saying, like, if the narrative is, oh, he's going to shoot more, you're just guessing. Like, right. You don't know that he's going to shoot more. Yeah, and of course he has to hit the shots, but if he's shooting more, then you're going to project him for more anyway. It's just how you can't. You can't. I think Porzingis is a fine play, though, at 7,600 against this Knicks team. I don't have any issue with him at all. Julius Randle on the other side, he has been very involved, from usage, assist rate, rebounding. For the most part, he's been the most all-around involved player over R.J. Barrett in this offense. But I'd like to see that price come down a little bit more, because I can't say I've been very confident in his production. But, he probably plays 34 minutes in this game if it stays somewhat competitive. And that's fine with me. If you wanted to play him like over Jabari, I don't have an issue with it. Thomas Bryant's another guy in that same range. You've got like Randall, Bryant, Parker, a bunch of guys in this 6K range and then Porzingis is up there. Sabonis is too expensive. Kevin Love has come on really strong of late, but that price point's getting up there, man. You'd be hard pressed to argue in favor of a $9,300 price tag for Kevin Love.
I will point out as well here at Power Forward that you do get an interesting mid-tier. You talked about Aaron Gordon before, the likes of Parker, and I will point out also Marcus Morris has been very involved as well for the Knicks and has been playing a ton of minutes. He's one of the few that is averaging over 30 minutes a game for the Knicks, along with RJ Barrett and the aforementioned Julius Randle. So somebody at 5,800 who might make his way into at least consideration for me. Do want to touch on the 76ers here with Simmons out. Is that in your estimation, a cascading sort of circumstance where the likes of an Al Horford or an Embiid gets influenced heavily by Simmons being out, or do you see it simply being more on the guard core for the 76ers that see an uptick in usage and minutes and fantasy relevance here?
No, as a matter of fact, I think it hurts them. I think it hurts the entire team. If you watched any of that Utah game, after Ben Simmons left, that offense was in disarray. The half court setup was terrible. The ball movement was awful. They looked lost. I mean, not having Ben Simmons to dictate the way that offense moves is tough. His usage isn't high enough to help anybody. Could you see some additional rebounds for guys like Embiid and Tobias Harris? Yeah, probably. Do the assists need to come from somewhere? Yeah, they do. But I think it hurts their efficiency. So I'm not necessarily excited about how this team is going to function with them off the floor. And it's a very tough matchup against a good Denver defense. So I don't really have much interest in this Philadelphia team much at all. Joel Embiid's always going to be in play, but I don't love him here. They're playing up in this altitude coming up, on the third or fourth game of a West Coast road trip. This just feels like a tough spot for the Philadelphia 76ers, especially with Ben Simmons off the floor.
All right. Anybody else at Power Forward worthwhile or ready to talk center? A little bit FanDuel, a little bit Yahoo, and close it out.
Yeah, let me just make sure I'm not missing on any value here, and then we can talk center. Like DeAndre Hunter is there if you need him against Sacramento.
Yep.
It's not great. Hachimura against Cleveland, $4,600 is fine. But these are all guys that I don't want to say they're dart throws. I think Rui's fine at 4,600, but there aren't any like when you look at the Philadelphia situation and you've got Raul Neto, that's a spot where he's super cheap. He hasn't been preemptively priced up with Ben Simmons out, and it's just a very obvious spot. There aren't many of those. I will say, not from a value standpoint, but if Pascal Siakam ends up being very low owned, he's somebody that I think I might take a stab at against the Pelicans. But man, there's a ton of guys that are just priced really high today. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 guys above 8,500 on DraftKings. That's a lot.
All right, let's close it out with some center talk, and then we will touch on FanDuel and Yahoo pricing just to get an idea. Again, reminder, we have tons of content available behind the paywall, also free content available over there on YouTube. And I will point out that Yahoo, the sponsor of this here podcast, does have a $10 entry, 50K baller, 10K to first over on their website. That goes along with the 250K baller for NFL this weekend. 10K to first, second gets 4K, third gets 1,000 management fee of 12%. It is 5,685 entries, and have an opportunity there to continue to build the bankroll. Remind you all that these secondary sites, and Yahoo's still building up their DFS offerings, clearly giving an opportunity to maybe play against a few less sharks and also giving an opportunity to build that bankroll a little bit. So check out that $10, 10K to first NBA 50K baller on yahoo.com. Let's talk centers, and we have 4 above 10K. You mentioned Davis, Towns, Embiid, Drummond already. I have at least in passing because of the different price points. Andre Drummond has been a force on the year. Not shockingly, there has been a rebounding machine. He has, was it 4 out of the last 5 games? Yeah, 4 out of the last 5 games. He has 20-plus rebounds. And this is a matchup with Indiana, which is a smaller team in the front court. Now, does that necessarily solve all the problems and say Drummond's going to have a gigantic game? No, but it would seem like another opportunity for a double-double, if not a very gigantic double-double for Drummond. You have Embiid, you have Karl-Anthony Towns against Golden State. Kind of have to throw out the old adage that you don't play centers against the Warriors simply because of how much of a disarray that team is in. How do you like the expensive centers? Do you think this is where you pay up, or do we have enough value to get away from what should be some chalk at the top end of the position?
Yeah, Karl-Anthony Towns might be the best play on the slate. You could very much make that argument. It's early in the season, but centers are averaging 27 points against the Warriors this year. 27 points. They're top 10 in rebounding as well. When you look at how they're shooting 57.6%. It's the 5th highest mark in the league. They're getting to the free throw line 7.1 times per game. That's 4th highest in the league. Offensive efficiency for big men against the Warriors, 3rd highest in the league. I mean, look, DVP can be very misleading, but just look at what's being run out there every day in that front court. It shouldn't surprise you whatsoever. I have Karl-Anthony Towns as one of the highest projected players on this slate. I think he should be, and he's just an outstanding play through and through. I don't know how you couldn't like Karl-Anthony Towns in this specific spot. It's an absolute smash spot for him, and it actually becomes even more appealing in the event that Jeff Teague is out, because we've actually seen an uptick in assist opportunities when Teague is out for Karl-Anthony Towns.
Makes total sense at the top end. How about the rest of the position?
Oh, and Shabazz Napier is doubtful. So sorry, I should have mentioned that. He's doubtful. So Jarrett Culver played 30 minutes last game. That price point is beginning to rise. If you can get him cheaper in other spots, it's definitely appealing. But I don't know how much you actually want to pay for him if these guys are out. But 30 minutes there is definitely viable. Put a little more research into it for the strategy show. But he did have 7 assists and 13 field goal attempts last game. So that's not bad. Against the Warriors, I actually think if Culver starts again, even at 5K, you could probably make a case for him being a good play.
We'll point out on Yahoo, Jarrett Culver is $10 the min, and then over on FanDuel, he's $3,800, small forward eligible on there.
You go.
Some cheaper price points to point those out. Let's talk the rest of center, though, and close out the pod. We'll touch a little bit on those other sites momentarily just to get some thoughts. You have Jokic, Gobert, and Vucevic at 85 through 7,800. Seems like a spot for the mid-tier centers to maybe have a big game. Just don't know which one it's going to be. Do you have any sense between those likes, Thompson, Adebayo, any of these guys in the mid-tier, even going down to Whiteside and Valanciunas, who have enough upside to maybe get you away from a Karl-Anthony Towns at the top end?
I don't know if you need to get away from him, but if you're looking for some other guys, Dwight Powell, what those minutes will look like. He's more of a value guy. I'll get to the mid-range in a second, but 34 minutes last game. He's way too cheap. I think Powell's got to be one of your preferred value options here. Maxi Kleber, the minutes for him are a little bit erratic, but I'd say Dwight Powell's got to be the guy that's preferred there in this spot against the Knicks. No real significant value, but Hassan Whiteside, I want to see how many minutes he plays tonight because he's playing that first leg of a back-to-back. If you get like 28 minutes from Hassan Whiteside, 27 at that price, I actually don't hate him against Brooklyn. I think he will trash that front court. Jokic in a tough spot against Philly. Vooch against Memphis. Memphis, not a good defense, playing at a fast pace, but they've actually done a very good job at containing centers this year. And when Joval's in there, he's decent enough defensively to make you work a little bit. I really don't see much in the mid-range that I'm going to be going for. It probably come down to Dwight Powell down there at the bottom, Karl-Anthony Towns at the top. Of course, Drummond's always in play, and I don't have any concerns about this matchup against the Pacers. I believe this will be their 3rd matchup already in 10 games. The first game he had 32 and 23. The second one he had 18 and 18. So not a concerning spot, regardless of who's at center, whether it's Miles Turner or Goga.
All right. I do want to touch on FanDuel here just to get a sense. You mentioned Culver. I brought up that he is 3,800 over there. To touch on the top end, you have Giannis, LeBron, Karl-Anthony Towns, Anthony Davis, and Andre Drummond. Embiid's 10-6, Luka Doncic 10-5, Lillard, and then Kyrie's just below the 10K price point. Now, obviously, MPE, the lack of MPE over there, the idea of playing two at each position and center only. Anybody stand out or anything stand out to you at first glance? And if nothing at all, that's fine too. And we can punt to the shows that all happen throughout Friday.
No, I mean, we've already talked about the good value that's there for the most part. At the top of the position, it's going to come down a lot to just what position is the weakest. Like, do you think you need to get to Giannis because small forward sucks? I mean, Siakam's expensive there, but he is small forward eligible. I don't know what the injury situation will look like for Indy, but TJ Warren, there are a few options there that you can get to. But, given that Giannis is only $200 more expensive than Towns and pretty much the same price as LeBron, he's a lot more appealing to me there than he is on DraftKings, where he's $1,000 more than the next most expensive player. I think that makes a pretty big difference. But I still like Towns. I think Giannis, though, clearly comes into play as a top option. Raul Neto, 37. Culver, like you said, 3,800. Just looking at some of these really discounted guys, they're all most of the value that we talked about at DraftKings is pretty similar. Dwight Powell, the only thing that sucks here is he's center eligible, so you're probably trying to get one of these top options at center. Now, basically the same value. The only other guy I'll throw out there, DraftKings too, Christian Wood has been playing around 20 minutes. He's a good per minute guy. If you wanted to throw him out there as a shot in the dark, it's very possible. But value is very similar on FanDuel as it is on DraftKings. I guess Bobby Portis would be the only other guy who on FanDuel is 4,400 and on DraftKings is 55. So at 4,400, Bobby Portis definitely has the upside to be a solid option. We've seen a couple eruptions from him this season, and then he just goes back into hibernation, and then his minutes go down, and he might get in a fight. He might get booted from the game. You have no idea what's going to happen with him. So I'd stick with the guys we talked about first. Raul Neto specifically being your top value option, whether he's chalky or not, which he will be, of course.
All right. There you have it. I will point out again, Culver, $10 over on Yahoo. And I don't know if, am I just spelling his name wrong? I don't know if Neto's, he's probably not. There he is. Okay, he's $10.
Well, Raul's not his actual first name.
Are you just having with me right now?
No.
What's his actual first name?
I can't remember.
I'm going to have to look that up. But he is eligible over on Yahoo. He is $10 as well. So if you're
maybe it is. I'm thinking of someone else. It's another Brazilian fellow where his first name is shortened, but then other sites have it like his actual name.
Yep.
It's not Neto.
I believe you, but I don't know who that is. He is $10. I just didn't scroll properly, so it was not his name. It was that I wasn't scrolling up. So you have Neto.
Yeah, because they hide the player when you search their name. Yes. You have to scroll up. It's so strange.
That is correct. And you have Culver and Neto as potential savers over there, right? So if you're trying to figure out getting top end guys on a site like Yahoo, you do have some value at the min price. You do have Giannis at 55, Karl-Anthony Towns at 53, Davis 52. So higher price points on the top end, not surprising there. You're going to find some mid-tier guys who are underpriced. The likes of Porzingis at $35. D'Angelo Russell, if he's going to get total run at 35, is there as well. And then some of the other names that Dave mentioned earlier, available at cheaper price points over on Yahoo as well. So make sure to check out Yahoo DFS. Any final thoughts on this slate, Dave, before we say so long?
No, finally a decent-sized slate where we don't have to choose between a bunch of bad players like we did last night.
And that will do it right there. Find Dave on Twitter at Lofty_D, L-O-U-G. It's been so long. LOUGHY_D. Don't forget, Saturday, Sunday, you get Dave and Manny on Awesome Hour Radio, 5 to 7 on Saturday, 7 to 9 on Sundays. That's Sirius 210 XM87. They have plenty of giveaways, or I should say free trials for SiriusXM. So if you're not yet a subscriber, you can do that on the internet typically, or if you have a new car with a SiriusXM enabled radio, you can check them out as well. Live shows throughout the day. You get NBA, you get NFL into the weekend. You get Dave a ton, both of those. You get NBA strategy show, deeper dive, and live before live for this NBA slate. As always, thanks so much for listening to the DFS Early Bird presented by Osmo.com.